Should say you're live now.
Are we? Are we?
I think so. I can see my face. It says live for about 10. It's been live for about 10 seconds. Really?
Are we up?
I don't see.
Oh, I think we're up.
Are we live?
Christian, I think you can leave. Woo!
Live?
Hi everyone.
live.
Hi everyone.
I learned something.
We are
but
live.
You should all be good. I'm gonna leave the Zoom call now.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Christian. Hi everyone. Just want to make sure that y'all can hear us well.
We're up. We're up.
Can I see some stuff in the chat to say that y'all can see and hear us? Oh my gosh, there's so many people. Hi everyone. Hope you're having a great
I want to
night.
make an appearance.
Yeah, Sean's over here. He's been troubleshooting for me because I'm like the lead person on this program and I don't know what I'm doing. This is my first time ever doing a live stream, but thank you so much for being so patient. I see Ivana says we can see you. Samantha says we can see and hear you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, my heart is pounding. I was so scared. Anyway, so we're just gonna get right into it because y'all were waiting for so long. Hi, welcome. Thank you for coming here to plan with me on this, what is it, Monday evening-ish? My name is Megan. I'm a PA. I'm a fourth year. I go by she, hers pronouns. I am an environmental studies and business management econ double major. I don't have anything else to plug, so I'm gonna let my lovely panelists introduce themselves and plug themselves. Cameron, would you like to start?
Yes.
Coordinator, and I also am a tour guide for the campus, and I also work as the lead intern for the Asian American Pacific Islander Resource Center. So that's a little bit about me. If you have any questions about what it's like to double major, or either of my majors or any of the jobs that I work at, feel free to drop it in the chat. We'll try to answer it as best as we can.
Awesome.
Back to you, Megan.
Back to me. Awesome. Thank you for all the F's in the chat because I don't know what I'm doing, y'all. I don't know. Yeah, the magic arm helped me. But yeah. Yay. Drop some W's in the chat to make me feel better, please. Anyway. So we'll just get into the bullet journaling now because I need to de-stress. Before we move in, I'm just gonna intro some of my equipment stuff. This is my notebook. This is the Leuchtturm 1917. It's kind of known as the premier bullet journaling notebook. It's very popular. Obviously, you can use anything to bullet journal in. Writing equipment, I'm using the Uni Kuratoga Advanced Mechanical Pencil. It's one that has like a spinning lead thing so it doesn't get like sharp points. I'm a loser. I see your faces. I get it. And then I do some brush lettering with this. This is a Tombow Fudinowski brush pen. And then I wanted to keep it relatively simple other than the 2-3 things with long names. So all of these things, these are the only like color implements that I'll be using plus my eraser. These are all from Daiso, which, you know, relatively affordable. So these 3 things were less than, or at least these things were less than $10. I just have normal highlighters, a multicolored pen, and a Rilakkuma eraser, which is very cute. Alright, so how this is gonna go, I've set up our panelists with a couple questions ahead of time, so hopefully those will be helpful for y'all. When I'm too broke to use bullet journal gear, you already know. That's why we go. That's why we go to Daiso. Daiso has very cute stickers. But anyway, I set up our panelists with a couple questions that y'all might be interested in hearing about, because we're old, crusty, dusty seniors. So while I'm doing my thing over here, I'm just going to be doing my October cover page. I'm going to hand it over to, well, I'm going to pivot to like asking my panelists some questions. So let's just jump into it. My cover page, my idea for this is going to be like a spooky but also cute graveyard. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I'll pass it off to my panelists with our first question. What is one thing you wish you were told about college in general? Anyone can pick that up.
Someone else can go first.
Yeah, someone else want to go first instead of Cam?
I can go first. So the question was, I have to remember what it is. What is one thing you wish you were told about college? Dang, that's hard. It's been 3 years, and I am, a crusty, dusty senior, in our words. So I honestly, coming into college, I wish people would have told me that, it's okay to fall down and that it's okay to fail. I remember my first quarter, I think I got like a C in one of my subjects, and I spent a whole day crying because I was so depressed and I was so shook that I got a C, because in high school I would like to say I did fairly well. But then I got my first C in college, and I was like, oh my god, the world is over. The world is ending. Nothing will ever be the same. But I definitely bounced back from that, and I do feel like, you learn your lesson as a frosh, especially in your first quarter when everything's really fun, you're still getting to know people, you're still trying to find your classes. And that it's okay. It's okay to fall down. It's okay to not get it right immediately. It's okay to be struggling, and that's okay. That's totally normal. It is every college person's experience, to have ups and downs. And you may not hit the ground running in terms of all the grades that you want and joining every club that you wanted to join, playing all the sports that you did in high school, and that's totally okay, especially this year when we're in a pandemic and also in wildfires and stuff like that. It's okay to give yourself grace for what you are going through this quarter, and not to be at the level that you are hoping to be, because you've got time. And that's what I wish someone would have told me before I came to college.
All right, that's a good one, actually. I can actually add on to that for the ups and downs. Not necessarily an academic, although you will notice a shift in, I guess, your high school, basically, the vibe that it gave versus in college. It's a lot more lax, I would say, unless, I guess it changes for each department, but you'll just find that the culture is just different overall. And I think that once y'all actually come onto campus and start interacting with people, you'll notice that. But for me personally, it was more I'm going to shift this around to mental health almost. I had some family problems growing up. It wasn't that big of a deal. And when I was in high school, I was like, I can handle this, no problem. I am not I felt like I was super strong and I can carry that all mentally. But the moment I went to college, I realized that a lot of that stuff would come back to me. And so it's just for a while I felt like I was weaker almost, because it was something in the past. I'm over it. It doesn't affect my life as much as it used to do. Beforehand, why am I crying over it now? And you'll notice that when you come to college, you'll discover a lot of things about yourself the moment you shift your environment. Not necessarily I can't handle my new environment, but it's just sometimes things that you used to deal with will come back and bite you. And that's perfectly normal. There's plenty of resources on campus to go to if you're experiencing that type of stuff. It's you can talk to your AAs, the health centers there. But just keep in mind that that's perfectly normal. And it was just a very interesting experience for me to go through because I held myself to a certain degree, and then that whole like mindset shifted through like sophomore year, and so I was like thrown through a loop. But I came out a better person that way, and that's just me.
Yeah, I might be a little quiet. Sorry. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Yeah, I pretty much feel really similar to both of them about things I wish I had heard, but something that's kind of... I really wish someone had told me that finals were going to hit a little differently than they did in high school. They hit pretty different. It's not to scare you guys. It's not like what I'm trying to do, but it's definitely a way different experience than high school finals in college. And midterms are weird. The quarter system's really weird. And midterm season is like week 2 to week 8 sometimes. And they're just stacked. It's a lot of learning different study skills than you're used to from high school. I think high school was really structured, and especially right now it's going to be, there's definitely a lack of structure that you have to build for yourself. And it's something that you get very good at pretty quickly, but that first quarter is... building that structure is pretty difficult, but you'll figure it out for sure.
Nice one, Alexis. I suppose I should answer the question now, huh? Is that like the thing?
If you want to.
If I want to? I mean, even when I was writing these questions, I didn't really know what my answer would be, but I'll kind of like semi-answer the question and say one thing that I was told about college was you don't have to stick with the first group of people that you find, which was something that I kind of had to learn the hard way because I was really insistent on finding a group and keeping that group, even though those people, like, I didn't mesh with those people well, and it caused a lot of strife for me. But, you know, I have good friends now on A-Team together.
We're here for you.
Wow, so sentimental. So, wow.
No, that's good. I would also like to put something else out there. As far as when you all have roommates, some of y'all are rooming together like now, but especially later on once like this whole thing is over, hopefully, we don't know. But if you're rooming with more people, you're gonna have to end up living and adjusting to their schedules as well, which can be difficult. And the one thing that I struggled with personally was setting boundaries. I didn't really know how to do that at the very beginning because you're meeting new people, you want to be friends with them, right? So you tend to go along with things a lot more than you necessarily would have with maybe your high school friends or different groups. Which is like, it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's good to like explore and like have different dynamics. But when things start to like almost like set you off and it's kind of like that's unfair, but you don't say anything, that starts to build up and it will build resentment. So in order to have a healthy relationship with your roommates, with your friends, just with your group in general, because you will be seeing these people all the time. It's not like you have, like, you can walk home and then it's like they're not there anymore. It's, you will be living with them or you will be like in constant communication with them. So setting boundaries is something that I am very like I try to tell everyone, I'm like, hey, you should probably do that. Or it's hard, but like, just keep that in mind.
Does anyone else have anything to add, or should we just move along?
I think I have one last thing.
Sure,
You're going to hear it over and over again. It's one that I heard. It's one that we all hear. Go to office hours. I don't listen to that advice, but every time I do, it's such a cool experience, and I love it, and it's so helpful. Go. You're going to hear it so many times.
I would stress this more. If you don't do it during your first 2 years, it's like, okay, like, fine. You didn't do it. You didn't listen to us, right? But during your third year, you want to start attending, like, for sure. Like, you should start building it from your freshman year, for sure. But if you want to ignore our advice, then do it your third year especially, because that's when people start to like recognize you. They're like, oh, I've had you in a couple classes, and this is when you are in the mindset of like maybe going, getting a job afterward, or like going to like grad school or something like that. And you need those letters of rep, so I would go.
Also, if you're in a really large major, that can be very stressful and very intimidating. I know for me, both of my majors are like the top 10 majors here at UC Santa Cruz, and there's like 2,000 psychology majors here at UC Santa Cruz, and there's like 500 film majors. So it can be really intimidating to reach out to your professor and talk to them during office hours. I know that it is for me. And I'm a really outgoing person. I don't have issues talking to people. But when it comes to reaching out to my professors, I'm like, oh, hi. I don't know what to say to you that doesn't sound like I'm kissing your ass for a letter of recommendation. Like, that's being super honest. But when you become a crusty dusty senior and you're applying for graduate school, that it comes in handy to have these letters of recommendation. And it is nice to have letters of recommendation from grad students like your TAs, which I've gotten close with because I've been less intimidated about talking to my TAs. But those are not as helpful for grad school. You want ones from your professors. So that's definitely the best advice I can give you. As a frosh or as a continuing student, like, don't be afraid to go and talk to them. Just stir up a conversation. If you don't have any questions in your class, I honestly would just say make up questions. Just make up some random questions that you feel like they can answer that will lead to a bigger conversation. Even if you know the answer already, definitely just make up some questions, because that'll ease your way into the conversation that you need to have with your professors at some point. So don't be afraid. Some of us are in really, really large majors where the professors, I've been in one professor's class like 8 times, and I don't think he knows my name. I still don't think he knows my name, because every class it has like 100 or 200 people in it. So that's fair, but also that's on me for not establishing a relationship sooner, which is possible. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Definitely reach out to your professors, and if you're scared, bring a friend. Because that helped me too.
Yeah, lots of awesome answers there. I will respond to Tad. CS is absolutely a cult. As someone who is not a CS major, not any type of computing or engineering major, it's a cult. Just kidding. We love our computing students here, but it's definitely a lot of work. I'm sure I've had a lot of friends crumble apart in libraries.
Yeah, both of my roommates are CS, so it's
an interesting life.
It is. They live a different lifestyle than me, for sure.
What did the kids
I'm over
say?
here
They're
writing an essay, and they're like, I'm like, oh.
They're
God.
built different. CS majors.
They are built so different.
But yeah, another hack for going to office hours, if you know that your professor does research, it probably is gonna be a very dry read, but try reading some of their papers and talk about it. Just come to office hours to talk about them. Even if you don't get what they're trying to say or trying to research, they'll probably appreciate that any student is reading their papers. Yeah.
Actually, it might be better that you don't understand it. So
Yeah.
you can go, hey, I read your thing and I did not understand it. Can you explain it to me? And then they just talk about their paper and their research. They're like, wow, a student cared enough. Or cares enough to sit here and just listen to me ramble at the very least. But also keep in mind that sometimes professors won't remember who you are, even if you have an established relationship, or they need more like background on you, so they will go to the TAs. So sometimes it's also a very good idea to make a memorable like remark like to a TA. At least have the TA know you, and then they can be like, oh yeah, that person, haha, like they did this and they were a good student, and then they're like, okay, cool.
And that's how you get research internships.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is. Get close with TAs. Even not just for research, TAs are really fun. Every TA I know that like I've gotten close with, and they're so fun, and the research they do is so interesting, and they just want to hang out. They've been exactly where you are. They know exactly what it's like. They've been where you are more recently than your professor. They're amazing. I love all of my TAs.
All right, I'm gonna ask a question to our lovely chat. I have to write. I'm gonna write the word October here because that's the month. Do I do it in normal script with my pen, or do I try and do some brush lettering right now to show y'all? Drop it in the chat.
Well, hang on, there's a lag for them, so like, you gotta give it. My personal opinion, I think you should try the brush. I think
I want to see some brush, but we can wait a second.
Yeah, so they can respond. Brush, you have it. They want the brush.
Oh gosh.
They want the brush.
I'm sure y'all saw my hands shaking when I was just like using a pen because I'm terrified right now. But I will do my best at some brush letter. Oh my gosh. Yep. Thanks, y'all.
It's all brush. Oh, we have one flip a coin. Unfortunately, I don't think they don't. Yeah.
I think you have been outvoted on that.
Yeah, sorry, Shinsu.
Ivana said, "Can you add an eyeball inside
as your boss? You gotta go brush." Great, wonderful. My hands are so shaky. Like, oh, maybe not. Okay. Okay. Well, as I calm down, let's move on to the next question. What is one thing that you're told about college that is absolutely 100% false? I feel like this is going to be interesting. Whew. Who wants to head this one up?
I don't know. Everything I like generally heard was kind of true, or at least like. Actually, I didn't hear a lot about college. Not gonna lie. Like I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go, and I'll figure it out when I get there.
I feel like someone was like, "Oh, you're gonna party all the time," and that's a straight up lie. I have no time. I want to go to a party, but it's like I have no time. And now it's good. There are no parties. It's all virtual. And I mean, you can have a virtual like wine party, but
wine moms.
What?
We'll be wine moms.
Yeah.
For the collective of the university.
When I turned 21, I realized I did not like wine, so I'll just say that.
I'm still not 21.
Oh, you're a baby still.
I'm a baby.
A baby, but
for the record, Megan doesn't drink wine yet.
Yeah, I do not.
Yeah, she's never touched alcohol. No underage drinking whatsoever here.
I know they're being facetious, but this is actually true. I'd rather not.
Yeah, that is true as well.
Yeah. I will say that that's probably one of the false things that I learned about college is that you be partying all the time. I think I got that from my parents though, so I don't think it counts. But I also feel like someone told me that college, like it's a meme now that college or that your high school teachers are always like, oh, you got to get your stuff together because it's college and they don't make exceptions in college and your professors are going to be super strict in college.
They make all the exceptions.
My professors are pretty chill and pretty accommodating, especially if you're a DRC student. So that's really nice. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it on my end in terms of false theories of college.
Before we move into the next speaker, I wanted to address a couple things in the chat. Hello, Jordan, and also for Sarah, will this live stream be watchable at another time? Yes, we are going to post it on here, and I will also try my best to caption it. I will try my very best. It's going to be a long video, but I hope it'll be useful for y'all. So yeah, who wants to expand?
You go next. Oh man, I want to say some stuff, but like, he's a crush. I can't.
Okay, someone asked what DRC is in the chat, so I can address this, but Erica can also, because she knows a lot. DRC is the Disability Resource Center. They're great. Erica knows a ton about them if you want to like do a little brief overview.
Sure, yeah. Sorry, Megan, this is going off on a tangent.
I think this is going to be better because people are going to get exactly what they need out of this.
Cool. Okay, so to address the DRC, Like Alexis said, it's the Disability Resource Center. But fun fact, you don't have to be typically disabled to use the resources of the Disability Resource Center. A lot of my friends throughout the years have told me, oh, I'd love to blah, 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 but I can't, I'm not disabled. I'm like, don't worry, bro, I got you. You don't, it's what your idea of, what is a disability, it may not always be apparent, and it may not always be physical. So, there are a lot of students who use the DRC's resources in terms of testing or class accommodations. And I'm one of those students. And I know a lot of students who are also a part of that as well. So the DRC provides testing accommodations, which has helped me greatly. If you were in high school and you were a 540 student, what is it called? AB 540? No. 504. If you were a 504 student and you had a 504 plan, that can immediately transfer over kind of into the college setting in terms of the DRC. So what I get in terms of testing accommodations is I get an allowance for 1.5 extra time for testing. So let's say your test or your exam or your final or your midterm is 1 hour. So basically what that means is I get an hour and a half extra on top of that hour. So I get a lot of time to not stress out. And if time management is something that you're really, really anxious about in terms of taking tests in college, this applies. This applies to you. You don't have to have any labeled, mental disability or learning disability. You don't have to have anything that's labeled. Honestly, this is a resource that is open for all students who feel like they need it. And one of the other great testing accommodations that the DRC can give is a separate testing room, which I've been able to take advantage of, and it's been really nice. It's where you test in a smaller room. Usually it's less than 10 people, instead of testing in a really large lecture hall, which can be really intimidating and really nerve-wracking, especially if you have testing anxiety already, because it's such a large space and there's so many other people and they make a lot of noise. With 400 people in a room, that's a lot of noise. So that was one of my biggest issues coming into college, and I was really nervous and really stressed out about it. But I met with a DRC coordinator, and she really walked me through the process and made sure that I knew what my accommodations could be and made sure that I was accommodated fully in anything that I needed. She asked me a lot of great questions about my history, what I was like as a student in high school, and that really guided our conversations to what I would need as a college student to be successful. Because it really is setting you up for success. If you know that you are going to struggle in some area and you already have that idea that you need help, going to the DRC is the best thing you can do for yourself. It's the most help that you could get yourself in terms of testing accommodations or class accommodations. Let's say that you're having a really bad month, or your quarter's just not going the way it was supposed to go, and you need a little bit extra time on turning in your final papers or something like that. That's something the DRC can help you with, and I think that it's really great to reach out to the DRC and make an appointment with one of the service coordinators, because they're really there to help you. Other accommodations that the DRC provides include transportation, housing accommodations, and other referral services or needs that you might have in terms of class accommodations or studying, anything that you might need to navigate this virtual quarter. So they do provide a ton of different accommodations. So if you have any questions about DRC accommodations, feel free to drop it in the chat, or you can reach out to the DRC today. You can make a Zoom call to their office, to their front desk staff, and schedule an appointment. That's how easy it is. 1, 2, 3. But yeah, that's pretty much it. My spiel on the DRC. I'm good if y'all want to talk about something else.
It was very informative. So anyway, while that was happening, I did finish off the cover page. Yay, October. Very October. Very scary brush lettering experience because I'm scared of things. And yeah, now I'm just working on a normal calendar spread. The way it's going to be set up is, you can see, the way I usually do it is I'll do a big calendar here where you have days of the week, everything's planned out, and then I'll just use a highlighter to highlight specific days that I know of at the beginning of the month, and we'll just write down those things at the bottom. To expand on the DRC, if you want to get involved with the DRC, I'm personally a DRC note taker, which means I just go to class, I take my notes, and then I can share them with people who need them. Yeah, that's kind of it. There's a lot of other opportunities to collaborate with the DRC also. Yeah. That's all I got. Is there anything in the chat that everyone else wants to talk about, or shall we move on to the next question? I did see Ivana said, what's the chillest thing a prof has done for your class? I definitely have an answer for this.
I responded in the chat about my British professor rapping for like a really fucking long ass time about the global economy. I mean, he was pretty cool about it. Professor Sparks is like a very jolly old man. Not old. He's just an interesting person. So if you have a class with him, he's cool. I bet if he went to office hours, I think he'd love it, honestly. Yeah. And there's also another question here, so we can answer either one as we go along to other people, is have you completed a quarter without all-nighters and cramming? If so, how'd you do it? Pacing, honestly, you're going to have to pace yourself. If you wait last minute, you're definitely going to have to cram a little bit. It also depends on how you structure your classes. If you're taking like 3 hard classes at the exact same time, then you're going to struggle a little bit. But it's good. Okay, so no one wants to do the readings for a week if you're in like something like social sciences or humanities. But guess what? You should probably do the readings for the week. Because as much as it sucks, like, you can just not cram the last minute and like try to find everything. Which is good note taking. I like to take out quotes as I read, because if I know something's gonna pop up for like an essay, I just like write a little like what that quote was about, and then I put the page numbers. Then when I go back in my notes, I can just like look at it real quick, and it's like, haha, I have like all these fantastic quotes from my paper, and it's fine. Do you have any
something I like? Sorry, I really quickly learned after high school that the way I crammed in high school was not going to cut it. It's tests are going to be different. The structure of it is different, and the weight of them are different. And it's about the pace. You have to pace yourself and be able to fit the time in without doing those all-nighters, because they start to stack. Because sometimes you'll have multiple midterms on the same week, and you can't do that where you have one all-nighter and then a test and then another all-nighter and another test, and it just, ooh, my camera's doing weird stuff. But you know, it adds up. Oh, why is it doing that?
Okay, so we have more questions. How have you prepared for multiple midterms at a time? So if you want to answer that, you can. And do you take digital notes or paper notes? Personally, I like to take digital notes. I find them a lot better, especially since Control F is like godsend, especially if you're trying to find like this one thing, instead of like flipping through your paper and looking at your messy handwriting. And then panelists, this is from Sean. What do y'all think about Google Calendar? Google Calendar is like so good, especially if you start working, because people need to know your schedule, when are you free. You put your classes in, and you can note like, and you can like see, compare and stuff like that. I would definitely highly recommend using it. But would anyone like to answer the multiple midterms?
Google Calendar. It helps to have everything laid out, and my camera's still being so weird. It helps to have everything laid out in what exactly I want to study, which class I'm going to be studying for that day. I also use a journal, so following along too. I use them both at the same time. It helps for me to have everything written out, and then also in a digital thing. But Eric was going to say something. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just like, how do we study for multiple midterms at the same time? I don't even remember. I feel like the summer vacation has just allowed me to forget what school was like. But no, I'm sure I will get right back in the swing of things in 2 days, because I have 5 classes, so I need to get back on my schedule. But yeah, I am also a huge advocate and fan of Google Calendar. I think the second best to Google Calendar is probably Apple Calendar, iCalendar. There are other calendar options out there, but I think Google's the best, and it is also the most versatile because you already can have it linked to your Zoom account, and you can have it linked to workspaces like Slack. If your work uses Slack, it works like that. You can also use Google Calendar in a way that you can check other people's schedules, and you can schedule meetings through Google Calendar, which is so much easier than emailing someone back and forth and be like, are you free this time? How about this time? How about this time? And that drives me insane. I'm like, please just look at my Google Calendar. It's free when it's free.
Also, when to
Google
meet
is free.
Sorry, go ahead. When to meet is a good site to use if you're in a club or organization or something, and it's like not everyone has their Google Calendar, which is unfortunate, but like if you do, also a good time.
Yeah, but I think they're starting to standardize the use of Google Calendar. I remember last year the incoming freshmen had to use Google Calendar to see the Welcome Week events. I think that was something that we standardized last year, but yeah, definitely get on that. I probably didn't start using Google Calendar until my second year because I didn't have to, but I would now. I would definitely go back to Fresh Erica and be like, use your freaking Google Calendar, please. Because it is helpful to, okay, this is a senior crusty dusty tip. At the beginning of every quarter, this is something I wish someone also told me at the beginning of college, but read the syllabus and read it. Like, really read your freaking syllabus, because you're going to be so upset when these things crawl up on you and you totally did not read the syllabus and you forgot that you had something due tomorrow. And that's going to hurt. And so I would read your syllabus, but not only read your syllabus, go through your syllabus due dates and put that in your calendar and set the reminder for like the day before the event is due. And I have a small secret tip that I don't know if anyone else does, but I also, when it comes to due dates for like essays, but what I do is I pretend like it's the day before and I say that that's the due date, just in case I really screwed up and I didn't start writing my essay. At least I'm not writing it on the day that it's actually due. I'm writing it the day before. So I gave myself a 1-day buffer on all of my essays. And this is for students who are in majors where you write a lot of essays, like Cameron and Alexis and myself and Megan. We write a crap ton of essays, and those essays, they pile up on you and they also surprise you last minute. So that's my best tip that I can offer in terms of scheduling yourself. It's like saying you need to leave at 4:30 when really you need to leave at 5, but you told yourself 4:30 because you know you're not going to be ready until 5. And that's the best tip I can give.
Someone asked about common school supplies, so I got out my backpack because for the longest, and this also kind of goes to the note-taking thing, for the longest time, I was one of those people who had like my big pencil case and I had 80 different gel pens and I was clicking the whole class and I was that girl for a really long time. And then I realized, what if I just had a black pen and like 2 highlighters and a notebook? And it's a lot better for me, at least, where it's just like I take my notes with my black pen and any key points are highlighted. So I like these little highlighters, you get them at Target, these cutesy ones, they're double-ended, and like a black pen and a notebook, and that's all I go to class with. And yeah, I also usually I'll bring my laptop, so I'll have both if I can fit them, but I like to take handwritten notes for the most part.
Yeah, it really depends on your
better for me,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm gonna, like, my, what the hell is the word? Roommate. My roommate and my friend for a really long time is a bio major, right? So she uses, she brings a notebook to every single class, and she goes through that, like, constantly. It's because she has to, like, draw out, like, all the structures and whatnot. But then she also got an iPad, which does the exact same thing, and it's a little bit easier to access Canva that way. But honestly, if you're faster at typing, then I would recommend using a laptop. I know some professors are like, actually, like, it's better if you handwrite notes, which is, like, probably true, but at the same time, if you can get the information down without, like, like more information down without panicking. I personally enjoy that a little bit more, especially with the Control F again. Also, tip for like heads up or whatever the fuck. If you can get a group chat going at the very beginning of the class, just like go like, hey, who wants to do a group chat and do GroupMe? Works wonders, especially when people are talking about their grades, when like what's coming up, if people need help with finals. I took it in my last civil liberties class. People were like on that shit. It was so helpful to have that group chat, even if you don't contribute to it. So I would highly recommend.
And for like my bio folks, at least in my experience, this is more note things, but if you are going to do handwritten notes, I know it's an extra time suck, but take a lot of notes beforehand. A lot of professors are going to release lectures before, and they do expect you to read them before. They're not going to give you time to copy every single thing down from the lecture. So if you have them all written out, then you can really like pinpoint. I'll write them out, and then I have post-it notes sometimes. Throw them on there, highlight important things, add little notes as I go of like what's really key. But my notebooks are kind of a mess too. So it's just really all up to how it's just for you, right? Like it really has to be the best way for you to look over them and get what you need out of them when you're studying.
Alright, and with that lull in conversation, I'll go explain a little bit what I'm doing here, and then I'll also answer some of the questions that we had. So let's go back a second. So I finished my October calendar. Not too many important things so far. I also know that it's not like really in focus. But yeah, October at a glance. Only like 3 important dates for me so far. Obviously, as midterms roll in, this will probably be updated. So yeah, that's it for so far. That's it for, yeah. Anyway, so this is my schedule spread. This is kind of adapted from like the bullet journal method, the official like daily bar method. I did it in this way so I can kind of regiment my entire week. So every day follows this, or every work day of mine follows this basic schedule. So I've broken it up from basically 7 a.m. to, this would be 10 p.m.? Yeah. So 7 hours to 22 hours. Yeah. So when you're like lining it up, I would say have it so that you have 4 lines for each hour. So the top of the hour is here, and then you have a 7:15, a 7:30, a 7:45, and then you get to the 8 here. So you can like regiment your time in that way. These big blocks that I've made so far, there's one for, this was going to end up being my workout block. This is my first working block of the day. This is the thing that reminds me to eat a meal because I'm a weird person that does intermittent fasting. So yeah. Cam is very, very unimpressed right now.
No, sorry. I was like, I had to respond to my mom because she was just texting me real quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't worry.
You're usually unimpressed by me.
What?
No.
What? Anyway, no, I am very impressed by Megan. Megan's probably one of the most on top of their shit people that I know. I have worked with you for 2-3 years. Yes, I can very much say that. Anyway, moving on to the whatever the fuck you want to talk about next.
Yeah, I will answer one question because we had like the whole conversation about paper notes versus digital notes. I personally lean towards digital notes because as a DRC note taker, it's really important to me that I get notes to people in a timely fashion. So I can, right after I make a Google Doc, I can share it with that person immediately. Usually when I'm in class, I'll have the notes on one doc, and then in another tab, I'll have that person's email, and I'll have like my preset thing. I usually send my note recipients a little note being like, hey, just a reminder that we have this paper due on Friday, or there's this video to watch, and I'll hyperlink it in my email, stuff like that. So yeah, I usually do digital notes because it's easier to share, but paper notes depending on professor preference. And also, I always say paper notes for math classes. Yeah, that's kind of my rule, my breakdown. So yeah. Hopefully that's been helpful to y'all. We'll move on to the next question. What was your transition to remote learning like? Think back to, I don't even know what month it was. Could have been 6 months ago, could have been 6 years ago.
It was right after spring break. No, it started spring break, essentially. Like, we all went home and then we never came back. At least for me. I would have to say, me personally, I do better in quarantine. Now, a lot of people will disagree with me on that. And I understand why. It's because at school they have the resources, they can go to the library, they have peace and quiet, and they have like designated areas to do their work, versus when you're at home, maybe your family's like out and about and it's like you don't really have that space anymore. You can't put yourself in that mindset. Me, on the other hand, college was very much a social thing. So you take me to the library and I will just talk the entire time, or I am very much on YouTube because I don't do well with other people around me. So my transition was a lot better. I actually study more, I read more. And if that is you, take advantage of that. If you know that you study better in not group settings, and you have the same like privilege of like isolation as me, then I would take it because your grades will be good. And then that way, because most people, like when they first come to college, it's kind of like the grades won't be the best because one, you're learning how to transition, and you're also having the whole new social aspect. But if you take advantage of it and just be like, okay, well, I'm taking an L on my social life and like my new college freshman experience, and then you just kind of focus academically, you can like, you'll get that experience back once you come back. But yeah, I don't know, just keep it like optimistic. It's like, oh, I'm just moving like when I should be focusing on different things like around. So, yeah, prioritizing. There we go. I don't know about anyone else though.
Mine was really weird. It was weird. I was in Alaska, and then, so I had not been in Santa Cruz already for about a month and a half. And then, even when I left for Alaska, things were getting a little serious. It was already kind of like, should I be going out of state, you know? And so when I got back home, it was like it was very strange. I thought I was going to be home for like a week, and then I had to stay home for 3 months. But I mean, I'm pretty similar to Cameron, where I did pretty well with it. I did a lot better with it because I also kind of I'm pretty social with like group studying. I don't really shut up. I can't really like, I have to be alone to study. Yeah. It was a very weird transition for me. So I just think I don't have like a very different experience with it.
I honestly don't remember what happened. I remember being sick with pneumonia for like 4 weeks right when the shutdown started. So that was great.
I haven't heard about that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think I had a COVID scare, but it was not COVID. I'm okay. It was pneumonia instead, because I had like sneezing and like stuffy nose and runny nose, which is like not a symptom of COVID. So
Actually, same. I got the exact same thing.
it was crazy. It happened right when spring break started, and I was like, oh, lovely. I enjoy being in quarantine, but not with pneumonia, thanks. So yeah, that was kind of the start. But I will say I also agree with Cam and Alexis that being in a remote setting has helped me become more productive. I feel like the travel times have been cut out, and that has allowed me to get so much more work done, because I'm not running from like the farm to Cowell College, 9 and 10, back to Porter. Oh, need to go to McHenry. Oh, we have a meeting at no, I don't have time. So yeah, and there's only so much you can do in a day, which is something that I learned very quickly in college. There's only so much you can do in a day, especially during the 9 to 5 work day, which is what a lot of campus like adheres to. So it was very difficult for me to kind of balance stuff already. But then when we went to remote, I was like, wow, there goes my travel time. I got like 6 hours of my life back, which I then spent adding on more work to my life. That was great. Good choices. And I would definitely say that although it's a different type of fatigue, for me personally, it has been really nice to be at home working in my, college off-campus apartment in my room with my roommate. It's been really nice to just kind of do my hourly walks to the fridge. Oh my God, that's really bad. Hold on. But also just in terms of studying and in terms of taking exams, it has been a lot easier for me. And I used to be really nervous on the first day of school, especially when we were back in person, because the first day of classes every quarter meant that I had to figure out my classroom situation real quick, because being a student with a giant Siberian Husky service dog, it's not easy for me to navigate classes and find a seat that is accessible to me. And unfortunately, a lot of the lecture rooms and classrooms are not accessible for someone with a service dog. So I would always have to get there like 20 minutes, 30 minutes early before my class started and like look for the accessible seating area and try to like yeet over there before someone else sat down, because I didn't want to have an awkward conversation and be like, hi, can you get out of the seat? I can't sit anywhere else. Yeah. So I will say that's been nice to not have to worry about that this quarter, because I can just sit in my bed all day. But yeah, I definitely think that I've been more productive during quarantine and getting stuff done because, I have more time, and also a little bit more energy, I would say. But Zoom fatigue is real. Zoom burnout is super real. I will say after like 3 months of Zoom, I was like, I don't want to be on another Zoom call. I don't ever want to get on another Zoom call again. And that was after trying to film a film on Zoom, and that was fun. So yeah, definitely will say that's been my experience since spring.
Actually, I wanted to piggyback off of, oh my God, I just said that. I want to piggyback off. That's like a total, like, I am in a...
It's a Santa Cruz-ism, right?
God, yeah. Anyway, especially in, like, politics. Like, it doesn't matter. What the fuck was I going to say? Okay, you were talking about travel time. I want to emphasize that a little bit, especially if you're living off campus. This isn't relevant to any of y'all right now, given the situation, but you'll eventually maybe have an apartment off campus. You'll have maybe a job on campus, or like your time will be spread out. I want y'all to keep in mind how you're going to feed yourself and whether or not you have like things prepared, because sometimes I would go to work and it's like I forgot my lunch and I didn't have a meal plan, so I couldn't go into the dining hall, whatever. So I pay $8. Okay. No one needs to know that I sneak in there sometimes and abuse my whatever privilege. But
yeah, if we were bad people, we would do that, but we're not bad people.
We're not bad people, and we are student leaders who abide by our moral code and do not sneak in the back anyway. And no one needs to know that. Let's see, what was I talking about? Yeah, so make sure to meal prep. Like, that's something that's really hard, especially since you're going back and forth. And honestly, like, sometimes you don't have time to study in between, like, work and classes, let's say, when you're on campus, because you're just not in the mood. Like, it's not like you finished working, you only have, like, 45 minutes until, like, your next class starts, and then you're like, okay, well, I can't go home and study, like, for an extensive period of time, and you're not going to, sometimes you're just not in the mood to sit there and just read, like, your academic paper. You need a break, like, a mental break. But the problem is that if you're not, like, if you don't have the space for that, then when I ended up going home around, like, really fucking late at night, like, around 8 to 9 p.m., like, it was harder to cram in or, like, to manage my academics. And then I was hungry all the time, and I wasn't feeding myself right. So, like, that's when Google Calendar comes in, and, like, you really want to, like, make sure you manage your time nicely. Because if not, you're going to end up neglecting your body and your mindset and your grades. So, yeah. Just want to say that. And there was also something in the chat, and then it said, will it be a challenge to find a, well, I'm not going to say that word because I'm going to fuck it up.
Conscientious?
I can't say long words out loud. Anyway, friend group who isn't into drinking that much, yeah. So the thing is that like a lot of people are like they want to drink and stuff like that. So that's probably something you're gonna encounter a lot of. But you'll eventually drift to a friend group that is like probably fits like your needs a little bit more, or like shares the same ideas, and that just happens naturally. But I can't say whether or not it's easy because finding friend groups is different for everyone. A lot of people go through some shit. Like they're in a friend group, maybe some people break off, maybe you get into a fight, and like honestly, you have to learn like when to like just move on and let go. So yeah, but it's not like everyone here is going to be like, I drink every day and then I am doing the illegal things in the woods constantly. Like, you will find a group that doesn't do that and it's just chill with that. There's plenty of people out there.
For sure. And even if, I think like my freshman year, I knew quite a few people who were like into that whole thing, but I never felt a pressure that I had to. And like, even though maybe I'm not friends with those people anymore because they kind of drifted and they did their own thing, I never felt like I had to do that to be their friend, at least in my experience. And I've been able to kind of find a friend group where, you know, we all kind of waited. And now it's part of what we do because we're all 21 and sometimes we'll drink, but it was never a key factor to us being like friends and hanging out and having fun. Yeah.
Alrighty. Anything else to say, or we can move on to the next question? I don't know if that is.
Moving on. Next question.
Right. Next question. Let me get my notes back up. All right. So, still on the topic of, at least for our preset questions of remote learning, what's one strategy or tactic that you recommend for people who are concerned about remote learning? I definitely have one for this, but I'll open the floor to whoever wants to go first.
Remote learning. I would say, man, I don't really know. I feel like I've just kind of gotten used to it since spring. But what has been helpful, I would say, in terms of avoiding Zoom fatigue, because that's probably the best thing I can talk about in terms of remote learning. Everything else I feel like I just got used to. But one thing that I had to learn to like not do to make myself successful during remote learning is to not multitask when you're on a Zoom call or like you're in a meeting or you're taking a class on Zoom. If you're in class, and I know this is so hard and there's memes everywhere about just turning on Zoom and then putting your laptop next to your head and then going back to sleep in the morning or in the afternoon. That has been me several times. I know that it's so hard, but I would definitely, if you really like try to, you know, not fall asleep during class, especially in the morning, try to sit up and go somewhere else out of your bed and sit somewhere where you know you're not going to fall asleep. And I usually kind of like turn my lights on so that way, or open the window so that way it's too bright for me to fall back asleep, but sometimes that doesn't even work. So really recommend sitting up. Try not to like go back into your lying down position and just it's so easy to just put your phone right next to your ear and just like listen to the class and then only wake up for the attendance. But that's totally me. That was me in spring, honestly. But as far as avoiding Zoom fatigue and not multitasking, that is really important. If you're in a meeting like with your staff or you're in a club, try not to be doing something on Google Docs. Try not to be on Instagram. Try not to be looking at other things, because when you've got like 14 things going on online, it's really confusing and it's really overwhelming. And that definitely contributes much faster to your Zoom fatigue than if you just focused on one thing at a time.
I really agree with the getting out of bed thing. That was what I was kind of going to say. I wanted to kind of add to it of like setting a space, if it's possible, that's the space you're doing homework. even if it's your kitchen table, it makes a huge difference to have somewhere that you go every single day, and that's where you're doing work, and that's where you're having classes, and that's where your notebook is, and your pens are laid out, or you're just have laptop charger there. You know, it makes a huge difference mentally, I think, that you have a spot that is for school.
I think you covered most of it. Like, I use the same exact techniques, honestly. Very much pay attention during class. Like, you want to make sure that you're taking notes and you're still being an avid listener. Because, yeah, you can, like, maybe there's a class that's easier and then you can, like, skip like a class or two. But when you start to do that, you start to fall behind, and then it's more like grappling for, like, a good grade instead of, like, being on top of your shit. And that in itself makes a difference, like, mentally. And okay, me personally, I like to just take breaks in between classes and stuff like that. Like, make sure you have time set aside to go into your hobbies. Like, since you have no time to, like, socialize, right? And, like, maybe you're an extrovert and then that's, like, one of your key factors in life. Like, you want to, like, talk to people and stuff, but maybe that's not an option. Set time aside so that you can, like, dive into those things when you have the free time. Like, I have a Switch. I haven't played it that much ever since I got tired of Animal Crossing. But then I picked up a new game, right? And then every single time, like, my class ends or my work call ends, and I have 20 to 40 minutes, I just play it. And one, I get the use out of my Switch, right? I'm picking up old hobbies, like gaming again. And then, like, it's just nice it's a breather almost, even though you're still in the same place. Like, this is very much escapism, because I'm mentally detaching myself from this reality into something else. But it's fun at the same time. So, like, go play a game, go read fan fiction, like, go watch a YouTube video and, like, immerse yourself into a different plot line or whatever. Like, that's what I would say. Self-care doesn't have to be, like, bath bombs and shit. It can just be, like, being as self-indulgent as possible. Alrighty. I don't know if anyone has any other questions. Oh, there's some questions in the chat. Any CS advice / links, resources, decide which quarter take, in general, CS major helpful. Okay. And then there's a question on cornucopia. All right. Well, none of us are CS majors, so unfortunately, I really can't answer that. I don't think anyone else here can. You might want to talk to an advisor about that. But I'm pretty... Okay, so to kind of answer that almost, cornucopia is basically like a fair of all the clubs on campus. So usually when we have it in person, it would be like a shit ton of tables lined up, and each person is at a booth going like, hey, this is like maybe for this frat, or we are like the LGBTQ community, blah, blah, blah. And then like everyone's like advocating for stuff. So like you can join one that like zines and stuff, right? You can do zines. Or soccer and whatnot. A lot of clubs. So that's basically what cornucopia is. And if you're a CS major and you want to find some more CS majors as well, there's a lot of clubs that focus on specific majors. So if you're into law or politics, then you can go into the Democrats Club or the Republican Club, or like there's a lot of nonprofits as well that do other type of organization stuff, and it looks good. For volunteering and to put on your resume, and it's a good way to find community. I want to put a little emphasis on this though, especially when y'all get back, especially this is for frats specifically, I'm sure it can apply to elsewhere. Make sure to find friends that are not just within like an organization or your workplace. If you do, that's fine, but also sometimes drama comes up within an organization or work, and that's maybe something that wouldn't have popped up if you were just friends, like as friends. And it's good to have like some space between that. It's like just to separate yourself. Like you don't want to just have your whole world just be this one organization or this one frat. And I've seen a couple people go through that where they've kind of like, they were just going through, and it's like, okay, like you need to take a step back. But yeah, I'm sure you can find some stuff for CS related groups, and then you can make friends that way. I think they have a Discord going. Like the whole CS major like has a Discord going because they're a bunch of nerds, and that makes sense. But it's a great way to talk to other people, right? Yeah. So go find a CS major who's like a little bit older. Go, hey, what's the fucking Discord? And then eventually you'll get it, and then you'll be plugged in. Unfortunately, we don't have that right now.
Yeah, to backtrack a little bit on that question of strategy and tactics for like remote learning, CGP Grey, drop it in the chat if you know about CGP Grey. I've really adopted his method of, like, in the video called Spaceship U. Sean's laughing at me. Whatever. He's laughing at me. But yeah, so CGP Grey put out 2 videos that I really like resonated with. One being the Spaceship U video about being very clear in delineating your workspaces. So this whole stream setup kind of threw a wrench in that, but I would say this is still recreational. So I have like my recreation space, which is here in the living room. I have my creation space, which is where I do like my music production, where I do my video editing, where I do my Zoom meetings and my homework, which is in my room. My bed, I do not, or at least I try very hard to, not use my phone in bed. Because bed is for sleeping, bed is not for idling on Instagram. Because that's how you mess up your sleep cycles. And, you know, I've been through a lot of phases where I use my phone in bed and then I just stay on there until 4 in the morning, and then I have a commitment at 7 o'clock and I'm super tired the next day. So being very conscious of how you're using your spaces was very important to me. Also, we finished up the schedule, which can segue me into the next thing called Weekend Wednesday. So, as you can see, this is my daily schedule. I was adding stars and stuff while everyone was talking. My daily schedule, I have my workout block here, my first working block, my breakfast, working block number 2, working block number 3, dinner, and then these random meetings that happen on these days, as delineated by these highlights. You will see that there is a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and no Wednesday. I have purposefully shifted my schedules so that my weekends, or what I call my weekends, fall on Wednesday and Saturday, so I don't have to work 5 days before getting a break. Because your Saturday ends up being a really, really bad day where you're just super stressed out about the last 5 days you work, and then Sunday is the day you actually get to rest. If you want to look it up, look up CGP Grey's Weekend Wednesday. Yes. And as students who get to choose our classes, coincidentally, I chose all classes that were Tuesday, Thursday, which worked well for me. And this whole thing. So yeah, that's the end of this spread, and I guess we can move on to the next question. So, with that, unless anyone has any closing thoughts on that topic or anything else was dropped in the chat. I don't think so. Alright, we'll move on to the next question then. Alright, so what is one thing that you recommend to anyone new to the university? It could be a resource, it could be a program, it could be an experience.
I do have like a general suggestion for how you should lay out your 4 years here, but I will let someone else take that lead because I might be talking a lot.
I have like 2 things. My biggest thing, it's just a general advice thing, is to not fight Santa Cruz. It's a weird place. It's a weird school sometimes. It's the best way to say it is to just not fight the vibe. You just kind of have to roll with what the school is sometimes. It's weird, but it's awesome, and I love it here. The other thing that I really wanted to recommend, which is kind of an experience type thing, is there's a lot of cool quarters that are field quarters where you can just go camping and it's a class. And I also really recommend rec classes. Are so fun when you can do them, obviously. But when the opportunity is presented to you, any of those classes where you get really involved are super amazing. I love them. They're awesome. But Cam can get into your thing. I want to hear about it.
Okay. So I'm assuming that many of y'all are from College 9 and 10, given that this is the College 9 and 10.
Do I know what you're going to talk about?
Well, a little bit, yeah. So I'm going to talk about the many resources that you can get here within College 9 and 10. I really honed myself as a student leader within this area, and I took advantage of that, and my resume is like, there's stuff on it, man. It's like, good. So for your first year, you want to like join organizations. Like, you're not going to get a student leadership position right away. Like, I mean, you can. You can definitely do that. I know Sean has done that before, or at least
Magic Arm, not Sean.
Yes, the Magic Arm.
He's not listening at all.
That's fine. But anyway, our helpful person who is helping.
He's trying to do things. He'll drop it in the chat too.
Yeah. So you want to take advantage of the clubs and organizations here, because there's a lot of like easy ways to get into a job or an internship here, something that looks good. So my pathway, I joined Senate my first year, and then I became president the next year. And the election process there is pretty good.
Who's your vice president?
Megan over here was my VPF for 2 years, and I was also president for 2 years. And we stayed in that organization, and we still are in it. So if y'all want to come to a Senate meeting, we will be there. But that really helps, especially since that organization ties into a lot of other things. So if you go through Senate, you'll end up going into SUA, which is the overall UCSC governing body. And a lot of people who are in SUA are very passionate about the things that they do, and they do a lot of things that help for like advocate for students and stuff like that. Or you're in the COCO, and then you're doing a lot of like social activism stuff like that. And then you end up, there's like multiple internships for the COCO, and that works really well. And then, so if you take that pathway, so if you join your first year, the second year you like hop into a position, maybe your third year you hop into an even higher position within student leadership. Maybe you worked in the COCO, but then you become an RA, or you become a PA like us. Or you go into Tech Crew, or you work at Terry Frida's Cafe, which is a cool little cafe, which is at 9 and 10. Either way, there's like a lot of places you can jump to that's within your own community. You can definitely get jobs elsewhere, but it's just nice to see people around, and then you get to know each other, and it's a good way to build a community that way. And then around your fourth year, if you can still keep up like the student leadership stuff like we have, obviously, but if it's also nice to explore elsewhere, maybe find like a more like catered to your major job or internship. That way that looks nice on your resume. So that way when you're out of here, or if you're taking a fifth year, whatever, by the end of this time, like you'll be like, you're good, right? Like hands off, you have experience. And in multiple areas, like even if you're just a CS major, they want to see that you've done stuff not in your major, because yes, they want to see that you've learned something, but they also want to see that you have maybe student leadership, that you have the ability to communicate with others, that you're friendly, you're outgoing maybe, or that you really care about this one certain issue, and then it goes on like that. I will recommend the class that you can take here. It's called, for College 9 specifically, it's called Global Action. I think for College 10, it's Social Justice. So during winter quarter, it's a 2-unit class, and it's taught by students. So if you take that class, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, like, I kind of like this class, the next year, you can teach the class, and now you have teaching experience. So I think y'all are going to be taking core class. So your first quarter is core. Winter quarter, I highly recommend taking the follow-up to that, which is taught by students. But College 9 and College 10 aren't the only ones that do that. Other groups do that as well. So I think we have a Model United Nations class. So if you join that class, you take it. It's kind of a fun introductory to it. And then if you wanted to join that club, that's your way into that club. And then you can also teach the class on another date after you've like already taken the class. I think speech and debate does it as well. So it's like a good, like if just taking these smaller classes will get you into a club, a group, an organization, and then maybe we'll give you teaching experience. And that looks really good. It's like taking initiative and it's student leadership. That's just one pathway you can take. That's me personally because of my major. I'm not entirely sure what others will do, but Megan, you can like reflect on your whatever you've done as VPF if you want to, or like talk about some of your other experiences, because yours is more financial and less like whatever I was doing.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I guess I'll go through that and also kind of answering Barbara's question about double majors. Yeah, so I think all of us are double majors here, right?
Yes. Also, if you wanted to answer, okay, you're not a double major. There's also a question in the chat if you ever wanted to answer this. If not, I can answer it in the chat, in the text. But also for transfer students.
Okay, yeah, I'm not too...
Okay, then I'll respond to that one then.
Awesome.
And then,
so, I'll kind of like outline my path through like student leadership and stuff between my major. So, when I first came to UCSC, I was slated as an environmental studies major. I took like a class on natural history, or I think it was an ecology class, and then I realized, okay, that was a class that I had to take, and it wasn't really my vibe. I'm not necessarily a out in the dirt type person, as you could probably tell from my squeaky clean white hoodie or pullover. I was really interested in the policy side, so I started exploring stuff. I was in my second quarter and I took this class, ENVS 24, which is Policy and Economics, Environmental Policy and Economics, with Professor Adam Millard Ball, who is my favorite professor in the Environmental Studies department. I was also his TA before. So I went to his office hours, we were just talking. I had built up a rapport with him, and he was asking me, yeah, so what's your major and what are your plans for after school? So I came in with a good stack of AP credits. This is also something that we can get into later if y'all want to. So I told him, yeah, I'm just here as a single major. I saw that there was a focus in economics, so I'm planning on getting just the environmental studies degree with a focus in economics in 3 years and then yeeting out of here. And he said, well, if you have the time and the financial ability, because obviously that is a big factor in any decision that we're going to make these days, consider looking into a double major. So from there, I was like, okay, I have the time and the money, thankfully, to pursue that. So I switched myself over to an environmental studies and econ major. I saw that there was a business econ major, and I have been interested in like entrepreneurship. So now that's what we've landed on, and it's my 4th year, and I haven't died yet. When it comes to like student leadership and getting positions that resonate with your career goals, as Cam said, my second and third years, I was the vice president of finance for College 9 Senate. Through that, I gained a lot of like professional skills, whether it's just like email writing, presenting. Presenting is something that I'd never really done, and I never understood many of the complexities of it really, and like PowerPoint making, and also practical skills like spreadsheets. Learned how to use Google Sheets pretty well, using all those formulas, finding those averages and stuff. So that in my 3rd year, I applied to 2 consulting student organizations on campus, and I got into both. So I went from 1 commitment to 3. Wasn't so bad because of the remote learning situation. So I had, we cut down the travel time. I didn't have to move anywhere. And then over the summer, I got offered 2 leadership roles, 1 in each group, and now I'm a PA, which is something that is very fun, and I actually get paid for it. I always say that like I got promoted from a business consultant to a project lead, and I make twice as much, but 2 times 0 is still 0. So yeah. that's my climb to the PA position. I don't really think that answered any questions, but yeah, that was my story. Please take the mic away from me.
Megan, you're in Gesher group, right?
Yeah, I'm in Gesher group and 180 Degrees Consulting.
Yeah, I worked with Gesher group this past year, trying to do my job as the Career Center divisional liaison for the social sciences and like getting connected with the student orgs in the social sciences. So I probably will be seeing you this year.
Ooh, I get to see more of Erica.
We'll have some more meetings this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the original question? I lost it. I'm sorry.
The original question was like a strategy for something that you recommend to someone new to the university. Was that where we started? And then there was questions about people like navigating double majors and minors and where you should start if you're curious about pursuing that track.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Well, I think I said everything I needed to say to what I would recommend to someone new to the university. It's about finding your groove, and I think it took me maybe 2 quarters. Yeah, 2 quarters to find my groove. Not only in like a social aspect, but also in an academic aspect. Figuring out what worked best for me in terms of going to class, what worked best for me in terms of studying and exams, and then also what worked best for me in terms of like my social life and who I spend time with. And then as far as double majoring, it can get a little bit hectic, I will say, especially if your majors have nothing to do with each other. So I'm a film and psychology double major, and they have nothing to do with each other. So they're very polar opposite majors. People ask me all the time, oh, like, why are you doing film and psych? That's so weird. Like, what a weird combination. And my answer to that is I chose film first, and then I got introduced to psychology. So I added psychology as a second major, and now I love psychology. So it's going to probably be my career path. And if psychology doesn't work, I'll just be an event planner because that's what this job has set me up to be doing for the rest of my life.
We love to hear it.
I definitely have the skills to plan events now, so I will say that's a big takeaway if I don't become a psychologist.
There's a question in the chat. Keep talking, Erica, don't worry, but eventually someone should address this. What are the pros and cons of each consulting organization?
Yeah, well, once everyone's through,
finished,
I'll hit that one.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question, so that's all you, Megan. I definitely will say that if you are double majoring or you're planning to do a major and a minor, that you need to look at the course overview and see what's required to graduate. And if your major has certain pathways or certain concentrations, for example, I'm in the film and digital media major, but I'm specifically in the production concentration, which means I'm a production student, which means I have a couple extra classes in order to graduate. And as far as psychology goes, I am taking the intensive psychology pathway, which means I have quite a few bit more classes to take in order to graduate. So before making decisions, such as double majoring or adding on a minor, I would highly consult the course overview for your major. See what you need to take in order to graduate on time. Whatever on time looks for you, that's what it looks for you. If on time is 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, or 6 years, that is totally okay. Don't let anybody tell you you need 4 years of college in order for it to be the right college experience. A lot of my friends did the 3-year pathway. I have friends who are done in 2 years and moved on to their JD, or they moved on to graduate school, and that's okay. If you are a 5th-year senior, that is also okay. If it takes you 5 years and a summer to complete your degree, that's what it takes. And so don't let anyone tell you that 4 years is the standard, and if you don't graduate in 4 years, you're weird, or you're not going to be with, the people that you, got in college together, your frosh class. So it really just depends on what you think you can handle and what you can realistically handle, both financially and academically, because those are real facts. Like, if you feel prepared, but finances are a thing, and some of us don't receive financial aid, and that's a reality. It may not be the best road to take in terms of double majoring or adding on a minor, but if it works out for you, definitely talk to your advisors for both of the majors, or both of your major and minor. Talk to your advisors, let them know that you're double majoring or majoring and minoring, because a lot of the issues that I had as a frosh could have been avoided had I just told both of my advisors for both departments that I'm double majoring, because they were just sitting there assuming I'm only that major. Like, my psych advisor was just like, oh, so you're just a psych major, and I'd be like, yeah, but film. And like, my film professors or film advisor would just be like, oh, so you got film all ready to go, here's your 4-year plan. And I'm like, wait, I need to fit psychology in there somehow. So that's really important, and that's what's going to keep you on track to graduate in whatever amount of time that you need. So that's my biggest advice that I can give to someone who is thinking about adding on a major or a minor.
Kim, do you want to add anything to that before we move on to the other questions in the chat?
Yeah, as someone who is a legal studies and politics double major, I would say that, one, I like legal studies better, but I have more politics down, so I'm just going to go through with it. It's actually not that bad once you put, the effort into it, but you have to make sure that, planning is something you will definitely have to do, as Erica said, because I didn't use not to say that I wasted my first 2 years, but I didn't use it wisely in relative to, my majors. I definitely took classes that interested me, and I definitely thought I switched majors, I tried going into econ, and I realized that I hate math. So there was that. But, you have to keep in mind, or try to, organize your life and make sure that you know ahead of time which classes you have to take. Because I very much went into it going, I'm going to take a couple classes, see if I want to change my major. And that's fine. That is the pathway I took, and I don't regret it. The thing is that I kind of wish I took more of my politics class earlier on, just because now I'm struggling in my 3rd and 4th year, trying to cram all my classes in without dropping my major. But the thing is that I have considered taking maybe an extra quarter into my 5th year, just because I can't fit things in, and maybe I have plans for the summer after everyone's 4th year. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. Sometimes you just have to take it. Obviously, a lot of people are restricted financially, so just if that is something that you know is you, then you should probably keep that in mind if you want to save a couple of dollars. Just plan ahead. Just make sure you know what you're doing. Talk to your advisors early on. Just say hey, these are the classes, and then you can map it out. And then every single time you take a class, just update that little chart that you have, and be okay, I have this out of the way, this out of the way. Here's the rest of what I need to do. And I do that constantly, and I'm can I get into my 4th class? I don't know, but that's just something you want to keep in mind. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Also, education minor is so cool, and I really wish I took it, but I don't have the time for that. So I would definitely recommend, if that's something that seems up your alley. All right, I am done talking for now.
So, I guess before we close out, I'll answer that question about the consulting organizations that we have on campus. As far as I know, we only have 2. I am a member of both. It's a lot. I'm just kidding. It's all very fun. The first one being 180 Degrees Consulting. 180 Degrees Consulting is a global organization started in Australia that focuses on nonprofit consulting. So a lot of our obviously a lot of our clients have been nonprofits. We've worked with the Our Flight Foundation, the Tony La Russa Animal Shelter in the Bay Area, in Walnut Creek, I believe, if you're from around the Bay Area. So yeah, we focus on working with nonprofits, providing advice fundraising strategy, marketing, outreach. We've done website design, we've done marketing research, we've done expansion, like business expansion, programs planning different events for them to take on so that they can grow their reach in their communities and hit whatever goals that they're trying to reach. And then there is Gesher Group that had, also I should note that 180 Degrees, the UCSC branch, is relatively new, only been around for, I think, it's either 5 or 6 quarters, but still, I think it's very fun. So, and then there's Gesher Group, which is a very much like business forward. It's a very big group. We have, I think, at least 5. This quarter we have 3 projects going on right now, but yeah, that's mainly like very much business based. We're working with a hotel out of the East Coast right now, and then a local business owner on other stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes around, like that goes on in Gesher that I don't even understand myself. I just know it's a lot of work. I'm friends with the president, and he runs around like a mad person all the time. I'm not necessarily the best person to talk to about Gesher. I'm more like leaning towards the 180 side because I have held a leadership position with them. But yeah, if you want more information, come to their cornucopia panel. So hopefully, that's kind of a non-answer, but hopefully that is of some use to you.
No, that's good. Especially now that people know that you can go to cornucopia for like the organizations you've been in. Alexis, I think you asked a question in the chat and some people responded like positively. Since we still have 15 minutes for this, or pathways to being a PA. You want to go first?
Sure. Because we've all had pretty different experiences getting here. The way that I got involved with the program was the job was I saw posters about being a college guide, which is super fun. Everyone should be a college guide. And I've been a college guide for 2 years. And that was really my introduction to the program's office. It's the activities office. It was really fun. And I just kind of got to know all the staff in those 2 years, and I eventually joined Tech Crew, and I was on Tech Crew for a couple quarters. Tech Crew is pretty much who sets up all of the events for everyone. And then eventually I applied to the FBA position, which is the fall programs assistant. And what makes FBA a little different than just normal PA is that I also supervise the CGs. So being a CG for so long kind of gave me like an upper hand at becoming an FBA. I really recommend being a CG as like a introduction to what the office is like and what the planning and everything is like. It's such a fun environment, and you meet so many cool people who really like what they're doing. I really love CG. It's awesome. It's such a cool job. But yeah, that's how I got here, at least.
Erica, how did you get here? Because Megan and I came through Senate.
Yeah, we kind of had the same story.
Yeah, Senate. Well, I also did the teaching thing, but I already talked about that. So,
my path is actually similar to Alexis's path, and I like to say that I've come full circle in activities. I also started off as a college guide because my friend Brianna, my first year, she was involved in like Senate and also involved in like something else in colleges 9 and 10. I think it was Praxis. But she was like, oh, hey, I'm going to be a college guide next year. Do you want to do it with me? And I was like, what's a college guide? What the hell does that mean? Is that a tour guide? Because I wanted to be a tour guide, which I mixed up college guide with campus visits tour guide. But I'm a tour guide now, so it doesn't matter. I eventually got to it. So she invited me to be a college guide. I think it was like 2 days after, or 2 days before the deadline to apply. And I just like, threw it out there, and I was like, okay, here's my application. And then I got an interview. I met Eva, who was our college programs coordinator a couple years back. I miss her. And I met Tim and Christian and, the whole team at activities. And I fell in love with planning and programming. And I met my college guides. And unfortunately, Brianna, she had to leave UC Santa Cruz before she could become a college guide. But I'm so thankful to her that she introduced me to the space and what it is to be a student leader, because I would not be here today without Brianna. And I definitely had a really great time being a college guide. My team was so supportive, and I put on my first program ever, which was a bingo and succulent night where we had a lot of succulents. That was a lot of work. But it was so fun. I had such a good time. I think it helped that the event was very successful, because I would have been very devastated had I did all of that planning and then nothing came of it. So I was very excited that it was successful, which led me to want to be on the activities team. So then I quickly applied to be the spring planning assistant for my second year, my sophomore year, which I got. And so then I joined the activities team formally as the spring planning assistant, which is basically someone who helps the CPC and ACPC, which are basically our bosses. They help them put on commencement for colleges 9 and 10, because commencement is a huge graduation ceremony that we have every year. And like running it and planning for it is a lot. So that was my job, but I also got to put on programs during spring quarter. And I had so much fun programming that I knew that I wanted to do more of it. But I also wanted bigger responsibility. And so I applied to become an RA, which is a residential assistant. And then I got the position at 9 and 10. I also got it at Crown Merrill, which in further reflection, I might have chosen Crown Merrill, if not 9 and 10, just because I feel like I only decided 9 and 10 because Crown Merrill was Cardiac Hill and I did not want to walk like that every day.
Fair.
So, yeah. So then I became an RA, and I really enjoyed it. I loved my residents, and I had a really great time being an RA. But I decided that programming was really where it was at, and being on the activities team is really where it's at. And as much as I loved being an RA, and I loved my residents, and I had really good residents and I had really good relationships with them during the school year and then during the summer, I felt like it was time to come back to activities and be a PA, and it's time. So now I'm a PA again, but I'm very happy to be here, and that's kind of my journey into being a student leader at 9 and 10. I definitely think everybody has their own journey, so however you get started in student leadership, that's on you, and that's your journey. It's unique to your experience in college. You don't have to follow any paths that we took. You can do if you want to, but you can get into student leadership, even if it's not at colleges 9 and 10. You can totally get into student leadership at other colleges. That is a possibility. So, no matter what you get into, it really just depends on what you're interested in and what makes you happy at the end of the day. At the end of the day, being an RA saved me so much more money because it's free housing and free dining. But at the end of the day, this made me so much more happy. And I came back. And I get to work with a cool team every day and put on some really funky programs. And it's my dream job. And I will tell everybody this in college, you gotta find your dream job. And that's how you will figure out what you like in your career, especially in a professional workspace. What do you like? What do you dislike? What kind of team environment, what kind of setting works best for you? Super important. It rounded out to like an advice thing again. So guys, I was just trying to talk about my journey as a PA. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'll pass it on. Whoever would like to go, or if you want to move on to the next question.
Do we have any other? I think we're gonna have to wrap it up very soon. For Anvita, I'm sorry if I haven't pronounced your name correctly. Yes, we will be posting this video after as like a normal video, and I will be captioning that for all of y'all as well. If you can field one question really quickly about benefits of being an RA, and then I think we're gonna wrap it up so everyone can head on out.
Okay, benefits to being an RA. After going through this, I want to be clear, I am neither endorsing nor not endorsing becoming an RA. But I want people to take it seriously. I want you to think about the work that is required to be an RA. Because it's a serious job. It's not just like any job on campus. There is a lot of training. There is a lot of responsibility. And there's a lot of work that's not so fun. And that's the reality. And I want to be real with y'all because I don't want anyone to go and apply and be an RA and be like, but I heard it was so much fun. And I heard that we get free housing. And that's the only reason why I want to be an RA, because that is the absolute worst reason to want to be an RA. You should not want to be an RA because of the free housing, which is a beautiful perk because that saved me like 10 grand this past year. And yeah, that's great. That's amazing. Saving on housing, saving money. Getting some money back from this university, free food, free dining hall food, those are great perks. But be real with yourself. The RA position is taxing. It's tiring. It's draining both physically and emotionally. And people rely on you. And that's a huge responsibility. And if you want to take it on, I want you to be passionate about what you're doing. And don't ever become an RA just for the housing, because you can tell who those RAs are. The RAs that are just doing it for the housing, you can tell because they lack passion, and they show it through how they interact with their residents, and they show it through how they put on programs. You ever been to a pajama night? Yeah, me too. But you ever been to a Parasite movie night? Yeah, I put that on. So I will say, thank you. I will say, do the job with passion. And if you're not passionate about it, if you're not passionate about your residents, if you're not passionate about, the position itself, without the perks, then don't apply, because you're going to hate it and you're going to be stuck for a year because you signed a contract. And it's just no fun when you're not having fun. If it's not something you would do without the perk of free housing and free dining, don't do it. That's my best advice. Because it is such a big job, and we actually like to say RAs are first responders. You are a first responder to so many incidents on your residential campus. And when you're on call, which for me was 8 times a quarter, you are the first person to any situation. If it's a lockout, that's fine, but I've had really bad crises happen when I've been on call. And I had a final the next day too, and I was like, why did I pick this day to be on call? Who did this to me? Oh, me. I did this to me. So that has been a huge learning lesson in terms of being an RA. And the glitz and the glamour of being an RA means you have power, and it means you have access, and it means you have connections, and it means you have free freaking housing, which is really nice. But there are responsibilities. There are real hard truths to being an RA. And if that's not for you, do something else. Do anything else. It's definitely not a job for everyone. And as much as I loved being an RA, there's a reason why I'm not doing it this year. Part of the reason is COVID, which really saved me. Because being an RA during COVID times, man, like, if you're on campus right now, applaud your RA. Like, tell them thank you.
Also, wash your hands and wear your mask.
Exactly. And show them appreciation and show them respect, because they are doing this for you. It has been so hard to get RAs to come back to campus this year because of COVID. A little inside tip. But they're here, and they're here for you, and they care about you. And so show them that appreciation. It's a lot of work. I just like to say I put in like a good 25 hours into my Door decks, and that was when I knew being an RA is hard work, and that was it for me. But yeah, thank you for my TED Talk, Megan. I appreciate it. I will pass it off to you now to wrap up our session.
Awesome. So thank you for coming to Erica's TED Talk. Thank you for coming to our entire 2-hour TED Talk, a kind of 1 and 45 minutes TED Talk about bullet journaling. We'll do a little flip through, and then we'll do our little, I was going to say it in Korean, sign off, and then we'll let y'all be on your way. So here we go. This is what we made together. Here's my little cover page. October at a glance calendar spread. My little daily schedule with my workout, my working blocks, and whatever important meetings I have for the day. My habits. We didn't really talk about this that much because we got really into our conversation. The way I use this is it's just like a basic calendar type thing, and if I do complete that thing in the day, I'll just highlight it with my orange highlighter. Working out, journaling, family. I'm purposefully trying to connect with my family more because my mom got mad at me basically for not texting her back. I love my mom, but now I have to consciously remind myself to do it. And especially now in COVID season, sanitize your electronics. Try to do it every day. Sanitize your keyboard, sanitize your phone. You're going to be touching that stuff all the time. And then the first half of our weekly spread, the first, second, and third day of, I was going to say February, October. I know a lot of people do fancy things with their spreads, and they do like vertical whatevers, and they do fancy calligraphy for their headers. Stickers are also good. These are also from Daiso, $1.50 a package. And then here is something that I was introduced to. It's just a brain dump. If you need a quick spot to put down notes, the name of a movie or a song or just something to get out of your head, this is where you put it. And with that, we are done for the night. Thank you all so much for spending this time with us. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it. Also, just thank you. This year is going to be very, very different, and hopefully that we hope that we can provide something of value for y'all through these digital programs. So thank you so much for spending this time with us. Please, as it says on screen, check the description before you go. There's a feedback form. If y'all want to see this every month, like a little plan with me session where we can just hang out, do some calendar spreads, I'd be down to make this happen. But anyway, thank you so much for spending your night with us. And with that, I think we'll be off. Bye, everyone.
See y'all later. I hope this was helpful. At least you got one thing out of it. Like,
yeah, one thing would be plenty.
All right, cool. We are seeing some good responses.